Good day, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on Employer of Record, or EOR services. I am Holly Navarro, and I'll be your moderator for today's session. We're pleased to have with us distinguished speaker Ian Wilkinson, who will share his extensive knowledge and experience with us. Ian, thank you for joining us. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, thanks for having me, Holly. Excited to be here. As you mentioned, my name's Ian Wilkinson. I've been in the workforce solutions industry a little over 15 years. And with Airswift now for 13 years, starting my career with Airswift in the recruitment side of things from the Dubai office, later moving to account management and latter country management role in Qatar. It was really a couple of years ago that I found my calling, so to speak, or my passion, which lied in helping companies solve their global employment challenges. So I'm currently the regional sales director in the global employment team.
Well, thank you for joining us. Today, we'll be discussing what is the employer of record, or EOR as we call it, and how it can benefit businesses that are looking to expand their global workforce. So without further ado, Ian, at its core, what is an employer of record?
Good question. Simply put, an employer of record, or EOR as it's known, is an organization or third-party company that serves as the legal employer for workers on behalf of another company. This allows companies to hire full-time employees overseas or abroad without having to actually set up their own physical legal entity. Entity creation can be costly and take time. Typically, depending on location, it can take anywhere from 3 to 6 months and cost upwards of $100,000 per entity.
Having a concept of employer of record makes it easier for businesses to navigate international employment. Now, building upon that understanding, could you take us through the responsibilities of an employer of record?
Sure. The responsibilities often and do vary country to country, and also are flexible depending on the client's requirements. But you would typically assume the EOR would be responsible for the management of the visas in the given country, the payroll processing, calculating wages, deducting taxes and other withholdings, issuing paychecks. They may also administer benefits such as health insurance, retirement plans, and other employee and statutory benefits. Tax compliance is another key one. The employer of record will ensure compliance with the local and regional tax regulations.
Got it. What about any other HR-related support?
Yeah, that often forms a big part of an EOR relationship with the client. The EOR company will be involved in the HR support from the beginning, from issuing employment contracts, offer letters, and other necessary onboarding documentation and procedures. There may be other more detailed HR support, some of which may remain in-house with the client, but also, again, is often outsourced to the EOR, such as general employee inquiries, managing leave, time off policies, disciplinary issues even, and general on-site, on-the-ground employee support matters. And again, it's the EOR's full responsibility to manage compliance with the local labour laws and regulations. And for companies that are expanding into new jurisdictions, you would expect the EOR company to guide the client through the employment regulations in that given country, highlight any significant labour market insights and compliance requirements, to ensure that everyone's aligned with the requirements in the given country.
So it sounds like EOR juggles everything from like payroll, legal stuff, HR. Does EOR work for just one type of industry?
Absolutely not, no. We say internally that EOR is, how you say, industry agnostic. It can be utilized across all industries and all sectors where a company needs to engage with workers in a different country where they don't have an entity or need employment-related administrative tasks in a given country. For example, Airswift have been providing EOR services to a multitude of clients across many varying sectors, all the way from global sports and entertainment brands where we're hiring remote workers in half a dozen countries, through to large renewable energy projects where we've provided comprehensive EOR solution across their project sites in Asia.
So you've supported a variety of companies, but what sort of sizes are they?
Again, keep saying it varies. It does vary a lot. We can provide an EOR solution to an individual that needs to work remotely in one country, all the way through to a blue chip multinational looking to expand into a new jurisdiction with large teams of people. So to summarize, it can be literally a one-man band type organization all the way through to a multi-billion-dollar organization.
What is the reason some of these companies use an EOR?
I think the first and foremost that we've seen, particularly in the last few years with technological advancements and things, is global expansion. When a company wants to expand its operations into a new country or region, partnering with an EOR is an efficient and effective solution for them to quickly and compliantly engage and employ local workers without having to go through that costly process of establishing their own entity and infrastructure in that location. Scalability is another big one. Working with an EOR offers scalability in workforce management, allowing companies to easily add or reduce headcount based on business needs without having that administrative burden and legal complexities associated with hiring and terminating employees. For example, we do a lot of work with startups looking to expand, and when they're on their expansion journey, we understand that not all expansions are successful, and it might be at 6-12 months down the line it's not as successful as they hoped, and they need to downsize the team slightly. Having an EOR enables you to react to the market conditions quickly and effectively like that. It moves on to the next point around flexibility and workforce management. Another big reason why people would use an EOR is to hire employees working remotely, for example.
Like during the COVID period, I'm sure that that had an impact, right, on this type of model. Can you speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, it's a really good point, Holly. Thanks for raising it. Particularly in the last couple of years, we've seen an acceptance and an almost norm of working remotely outside of the main office. And it's not as simple as just having somebody, for example, where the head office is in the UK, having somebody sitting in their home in Italy working remotely and payrolling them. There's local rules and regulations around it. So an EOR will allow a platform to employ that one individual working from home remotely and compliantly without any legal risks associated with things like worker misclassification, for example.
How can a company strike a balance between utilizing EOR while maintaining some services in-house?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's often something that clients are a little, I don't want to say afraid of, but concerned in terms of having to outsource all of their operations to a third party. In reality,
Yeah.
it's not. We use the best of both companies, both the EOR and the client, to work together. Each service that we offer, each EOR service that we offer is flexible and tailored to the client's specific objectives. So from the first discovery meeting with the client, we'll sit and listen, learn, understand what the client's operations are currently, discuss what the client does well, what they don't do so well, and areas that they can improve, identify their objectives from their relationship with an EOR, and discuss the strategy that they currently have to achieve these. Once we've got all of that covered, we'll be able to define exactly which tasks can be maintained in-house and which will be the responsibility of the EOR.
Right. That makes sense. Could you give us an example of some of these things that are often maintained in-house?
Yeah, I think we touched on it before a little, but it's often HR-related tasks which remain an internally managed, things such as time off, attendance, sickness, disciplinary training and development. Because although we're the official employer, the employees are still reporting on a daily basis to the client, and things like that are often best maintained in-house by the client.
Right. So pivoting a little bit, how would an EOR contribute to cost savings and mitigating risk? Could you speak on the mitigating risk part first?
Yeah, it's two of the most important considerations when choosing an EOR partner is the cost and the risk avoidance. Employment laws, they vary from significantly from country to country, and we don't expect our clients to know the regulations in every single country.
It's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. It's the EOR's responsibility, and they should have the expertise in navigating those legal complexities to ensure compliance and avoid non-compliance and associated risk or penalties. A good example of this is handling terminations, for example. Many foreign countries don't operate an at-will employment setup similar to what we see in the US. If a company wants, in lots of countries, if a company wants to terminate someone, they must provide reasonable cause and involve the employee in the discussions and negotiations around things like notice period, final settlement. And if that correct process isn't followed, ultimately the company or the client is going to be liable to pay those penalties. So it's a perfect example of how a knowledgeable EOR company can mitigate the risk there.
Interesting. But how about from the cost saving side of things? Would an EOR contribute towards cost savings?
Yeah, of course. We've already mentioned there's a cost-saving element to this in the risk mitigation, but there is potentially direct cost savings, as we said. Setting up and maintaining a legal entity in a new country can be very expensive in lots of countries. You've got costs such as registration fees, legal fees, ongoing compliance expenses, partner fees, office expenses. The list goes on.
Right.
And partnering with an EOR, it often is a cost-effective solution, and actually less cost than creating an entity, as it handles all of those legal and administrative aspects of the employment, reducing the need for any significant upfront investment.
Sounds like an employer of record is a cost-effective solution.
In many cases, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Ian.
Thanks so much, and enjoyed the discussion.
We're near the end of this insightful session, so let's revisit key points. We've delved into the factors driving relocation and investigated the emerging trends and opportunities. We've also shed light on effective strategies for talent attraction and retention. An employer of record is vital to helping companies and professionals navigate the complex landscapes of global mobility. By ensuring compliance and mitigating risk, they facilitate smoother transitions for global employment. Looking ahead, evolving markets, tech advancements, and changing workforce needs will continue to shape the future of global mobility. For those of you interested in continuing your learning today, we're excited to announce a series of upcoming webinars and resources on global employment and mobility topics. So stay tuned for more information on these events. Once again, thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this session informative and looking forward to seeing you at our upcoming events.
Thank you. Thank you for joining, everyone.
Thanks.